afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark,
And I'm Zoe.
and we are the Board Adventurers. Today, for you, we are going to be starting a new series. We're going to do what we call Late to the Game. We obviously haven't played a lot of the more modern games because we are both full-time employees at other companies, but we play games where we can. And we're kind of late to the game, as you could say. So we're going to play games from the past that have already been reviewed by other reviewers and other content creators out there. We're just here to give you our opinion on it.
So the first Late to the Game video, we wanted to discuss introductory games. So a lot of games that are good for introducing new people to the hobby, that have introduces themes that are implemented in more heavier games later on. So for the three games that we're going to be talking about today, we're going to discuss Villainous, Lords of Waterdeep, and Splendor.
Three games that we actually very much enjoy to some extent. Because those are the games that kind of got us into the hobby, and we still currently play to some extent today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the first game that we're going to discuss, we are going to start off with Splendor.
Ooh, Splendor. Okay.
Yeah.
So Splendor is a 2 to 4 player game where you are collecting, you're trying to collect points. So you're trying to race to 15 points. And you do that in the form of cards. So you're going to be collecting gems, basically of 5 different colors, and you're going to be trading those in for cards, some of which have points. The sum of those points then have to get to 15. That will indicate the end of the game. And then whoever has the most points after one full round will win.
Yeah.
Right. What do you think about Splendor?
Splendor is a good game, especially as an introductory game. Just the idea that you're kind of building an engine, which is definitely utilized in a lot of heavier games where you build an engine to gain more resources to buy more things later on. It definitely does a great job of introducing people to that concept.
Yeah, I think in terms of engine building, it's like a very basic type of engine building.
Yeah.
It feels like a lot of it is like you get a lot of almost kick out of it when you know that you're trading in a card for a color, and that card becomes now a permanent color that you can use. So Splendor for me is still like one game that I'll pull out to introduce a new person into the game. Yeah. Because it just has that kind of like appeal, and like those poker chips just feel really good.
They feel good, and it's very like the whole color themes is you just get in like green, red, black gems. It's very easy to teach someone. It's very easy to grasp that. Yeah. And it works when you just get a card and it's like, all right, this card is going to get me red gems that I could use later on. It's such a simple concept to grasp. Which is why I feel like Splendor as an introductory engine builder game works better than most games.
Right, yeah. Because I know like nowadays there's a lot of comparison or so-called Splendor killers that we hear a lot, but to be honest, like we don't know that much about. Yeah. There's games like Century Spice Road or possibly like
Gizmos
is possible, and like those games are fun too.
Yeah, they're great.
But I think maybe for me at least, Splendor is the one that got me into that idea of engine building. Yeah. So that nostalgic feel kind of pulls me back to it. So yeah, Splendor is great.
Yeah, one of the cons though of Splendor is pretty much the theme. It's non-existent.
Yeah,
you're a merchant, sure, but it's not really. You don't really worry about that while you're playing, and like what you're collecting are gems. So you're missing some of that like theme aspect to the game. But I think that sort of helps in terms of teaching the game.
Yeah.
Right? It's simple enough. Yeah. You're just taking red gems, green gems, blue gems, colored gems to buy cards. And then
right. Yeah. Because like merchants won't be like trading it like, I'm going to give you 3 gems, give me a black.
Yeah. Whenever I'm teaching Splendor, I don't think I would ever go like, so we're merchant guys. Yeah. This is what we're doing. Doesn't
definitely,
matter.
Definitely.
But there are gamers who like theme in their game.
Right.
And it helps them learn games, help them grasp concepts. You're not going to get that with Splendor. Yeah. But I think the bones are there, that it's easy enough to learn. Yeah. And really get into.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Nice. So for Splendor, would you recommend someone buy it, play it, or just don't get it at all?
That's a good question. So I'm of that mindset that I don't think I should ever convince someone to buy a game just on my opinion alone. Yeah. I will definitely recommend this to be played at first, and then if you like it, definitely consider purchasing it. Because it's
Gotcha.
easily found. Like you could find it at a Barnes and Noble nowadays.
yeah.
You could find it online on Amazon for relatively cheap. It's you can find Splendor is readily available in a lot of places.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be a little bit more. I'm just gonna say buy it. Like if you're new to the hobby or you have people in your life that you want to get into the hobby, Splendor's pretty much that game to introduce them into the hobby.
Nice.
And kind of like rope people in gameplay
Yeah.
wise.
I guess maybe like on my spectrum of play, it'd be closer to the buy it play as opposed to don't even consider playing it play.
Oh
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
So it's a great game. I definitely would bring it out to like anyone that hasn't played it yet and be like, try this out.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Cool. So the next game that we're going to discuss is Lords of Waterdeep.
All right, Lords of Waterdeep is a worker placement game. Now, in the most basic sense of the term, you're taking a little meeple figure and you're putting it somewhere on the board, and you're taking the action associated with that location on the board. And Waterdeep is a great example of like almost a simplistic sense of worker placement. So you're basically you're trying to hire adventurers and to go on quests.
Yeah.
And your quests are the form of cards. Those cards have different adventurer color cubes on them, and you're basically trying to hire adventurers to go on these quests to complete them for victory points and for different powers that are associated with it. And Waterdeep adds that idea of there's not only are there locations just on the board, but you also have houses. Those houses are variable every game.
Yeah.
So you can build a house that gives you certain colors of cubes that won't be in the next game or the game after that.
Yeah.
And that's where that replayability for Waterdeep comes in. That's just very striking. And that's, for me, like when it comes to like a beginner worker placement game, I can see why this would be considered a beginner worker placement. It's the simplest form of worker placement.
For me, it's like the best introductory worker placement game.
Oh,
okay. I love Waterdeep, and it's a game that is kind of like it's simple, but it doesn't. Like worker placement is pretty much the most I don't want to say universal, but it's utilized in many board games.
Oh yeah,
It's utilized in many board games, and this is like the game that is the best at teaching someone that concept. Of like having a worker, putting it somewhere, collecting resources, and what you're doing with that resources.
There's a lot of games nowadays that use that worker placement, but kind of overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
Where it's like they kind of take it and they put it on a location, but you can't use that location until you have either a certain criteria associated with it, or somehow you are able to remove it.
Yeah, or even just multiple meeples can be on the same location. Like those games are fun. Like games like Architects does that very well.
Right.
But in terms of just kind of like the bare bones of the concept, like if someone is there, you can't go to that spot. Now, what are you going to do now?
Right.
It's teaching like beginner board gamers how to be tactical and how you approach your turns and stuff like that. I just think it's just really
kind of
good
opens
at
it up
that.
to them. Yeah, the idea of like you have something you have to complete, and in order to do that, you need to send one of your so-called people out and to almost entice these adventurers to come to you. So like thematically, that you can maybe like it's not too far a jump in terms of how you can thematically associate that.
Yeah.
But the simple idea of like, okay, I just need orange. This will give me 2 orange.
Yeah.
I can now finish this quest, which will give me 4 white, and those white can be used for my 2 other quests.
Yeah.
It's something that doesn't overcomplicate the idea of a worker placement game.
Yeah, and I think one thing that Lords of Waterdeep does very well for introductory players is teaching them how tense a board game can be.
Yes.
Right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Some introductory games are so introductory that you could just do whatever you want. Right? You can just get whatever you want. In Lords of Waterdeep, if I'm a new player and I have a card that needs to get purple resources and orange resources, which are the more rare, purple and white, which are the more rare resources to get in the game.
Yeah.
In terms of availability. As an introductory players, I can't just go like, okay, I'm just gonna get purple now. Someone can go there and you have to decide, what am I going to do? What's more important to me? It's teaching you how to be tactical in
right.
a board
It can
game.
teach you like priority, right?
Yeah.
Because like sometimes like you could be one thing about Waterdeep too is that it's a variable start player for each round.
Yeah.
So you can actually change who goes first for each turn.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like that blew my mind when I first played it. I was like, are you telling me that even though like the person across from me went first and the person to my right doesn't go next, like I could take it and be first.
Yeah.
And then the idea also of those so-called intrigue cards, right? They give you abilities to kind of like almost bypass certain rules in the game, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you, as a worker placement game, you can't typically go on a location where someone else already is on it.
Yeah.
Some of these intrigue cards let you do that, or sometimes give you the resource that you wanted.
Yeah.
And then in Waterdeep, it lets you not only play it, but also gives you another turn to do something else.
Yeah. And also has like an engine building aspect to it as well, with the whole building aspect to the game, where you can go buy a build, go to a spot to buy a build and put it on the board that adds another location that players in the game can go to.
Yeah.
That gets them resources as well as the person who built it resources. So you kind of it's a way to get resources without utilizing the 2 turns you have around.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So it just does a good job of teaching you these basic board gaming concepts.
Right.
So,
If you can't tell already, we like Waterdeep.
oh yeah, Waterdeep is like one of my favorite games.
Yeah.
I love Waterdeep. The biggest con, and it's similar to Splendor here, the theme is non-existent. It's a Dungeons and Dragons game, but
I don't know.
it doesn't need to be.
I don't know. I kind of disagree. I could understand the idea. Like, I could see, like, yeah, they're cubes, but I could see them as like, oh, I'm going to this tavern. I need 2 of you delinquents to come with me. I need two adventurers to come with me.
Yeah.
Let's go on this quest. Let's finish this out.
I never think of Lords of Waterdeep that way. The theme doesn't even. It's just more of like go to location, get resources, resources to buy cards.
Yeah.
And it's like if someone didn't tell me that this was based like on the box says that this is a Dungeons and Dragons game, I would not know or care what type of game this is.
Oh yeah, totally.
It doesn't work that well, but it's cool that it's kind of like.
Yeah, I get really into the Dungeons and Dragons idea. It's like, hey, it's like I need you to come with me. So
we're going on a quest.
We're going on it. It's like, come with me, piety man. So
nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so for Lords of Waterdeep, is this a buy, play, or don't buy?
Oh man, that's a hard question. I do like Waterdeep a lot too. I would still definitely play this. There's people that do not like worker placement, and I think you would have, and we're maybe in that day and age where worker placement is so common now that this theme might be a little too dry.
Yeah.
Like if you are a new gamer, definitely try it, and then use this to kind of springboard into like more complicated worker placement. But maybe if you're someone that's already seasoned in worker placement, this might be a little too dry for you. So I would say play it, leaning to buy.
Yeah, see, I'm just straight play. I agree with you in terms of like this is a dry game. This is a super dry game. Especially it is going to feel dated, right? This is an older game. It's going to feel dated. It might be a little hard to get someone to get into it.
Yeah.
But if you could cross the hurdle of like putting it on a table. And the theme aspect to it, and they're willing to continue playing this game. Right. I don't want to guarantee, but they're most likely going to get into it just based off the concept of like what you're doing. Once you start playing it and you get it, it's like, oh, this is cool. Especially if you've never played a worker placement game. So this is a play for me, but teetering on buy, similar to you.
Okay. Yeah. No, I totally agree.
So the next game that we're going to talk about is Disney Villainous. Now, Villainous is a good introductory game because you're teaching asymmetry to new players, right? So in Villainous, each and every person that's playing is going to play as a villain from a classic Disney movie. So like Hades, Maleficent, Scar, Jafar, Ursula, Queen of
Captain
Hearts.
Hook.
Yep, like villains from classic Disney movies, and the goal is to be more villainous than the rest of the people that's playing. Now, what that looks like is each player has a win condition. And it's different for every player depending on the character that they choose. So Jafar has to end the game with the genie at a specific location. Scar has to knock out every character, well, most of the characters in Lion King. And it's different by character, right? So each player has like a board, and I'm going to use Maleficent as an example here. Each player is going to have a board, and you're going to have a meeple. And you're going to be moving it from location to location, going to specific places on that location, and that's going to give you an action. So an action can be gain resources, move cards, draw cards, discard cards, fate someone, which is another thing in the game. So each player is gonna have a fate deck and a regular deck. The fate deck is the heroes of the movie, so like Aladdin, Simba. You draw those and you put it on that player's board, and it's gonna block actions that they can take, while also hindering them from actually completing their objective. Right. So for me, for Villainous, I think it's one of the better modern introductory games. And we talked about Splendor and Lords of Waterdeep, and those are a little older games. Villainous is more modern.
Yeah, and probably came out in the last like 5 years or so.
I think so. Yeah. And for me, this is one of the I don't want to say easiest game to teach, but it's easiest to get someone to be interested in learning this.
Yeah, so the idea, I think the appeal of Villainous is that you have an asymmetric win condition.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to have one of these villains of the Disney universe, and you're going to basically, the appeal is that you might play with, say, Jafar, and you're going to have to end with Genie under your control at the palace, but then you might play Captain Hook, who has to defeat Peter Pan on the Jolly Roger, or for Ursula, where you have to, start with the trident and the crown at a certain location too. Yeah. It's that idea of like once you play a character and you've played them out, that it's like I want to try another character, maybe see how they play, and then there's there might be an idea of there's a certain character that kind of vibes with your play style.
Yeah, 100%.
And so your interest might go right into the who will I match with the most. Yeah. And so that's how I ended up really liking this game, was I wanted to figure out which one that I like, that I like can follow to an end game. Yeah. And some of them are like a little more powerful than others in terms of what they can do.
Yeah, definitely the asymmetry is the thing that really grabbed me in terms of Villainous. Of like each character, you could pick a character and play completely different from everyone else and what you've done before. That's such a cool concept.
And like it's relatively simple. Like say for example, we took these boards, right? So each of these locations is that you're going to one of these locations, but on your next turn you have to move it, right? Yeah. And then you add the fate cards in there, which is you can mess up other people by adding fate to them. And what fate really does is that it inherently blocks the top two actions, so that when anyone moves there, they can't take any of the top actions until you remove that card. Yeah. And that's either through a battle or through some effect that you have in your deck.
Yeah, so it's good.
Yeah, like it definitely adds like there's less luck in this game than most like almost other introductory games that can be considered. Okay. It could be perceived as a little more complicated, but I think the mechanics itself are pretty clean.
Yeah, the mechanics are good. Yeah. There's two cons I have with this game, and the first one is like you really have to play this game with introductory people. I don't think you could play this game with gamer people. The reason why is I've had this with a couple playthroughs of this game. You can get into a stalemate with this very easily, and this game could go on for longer than the anticipated runtime.
I could see that. Okay, right? You're playing with probably because like this game plays about like 2 to 5, 2 to 6.
I think 2 to 5 or 2 to 6. Yeah.
6. Yeah. And like I feel like the more people you add into it, the more complicated it's gonna get. Yeah. This whole I think it's actually 6. Actually, yeah. You play 2 to 6. But the idea then is that you can't, if you're playing 5 or 6. You can't fate the same person twice in a row, right? Yeah. Because they'll get this token that almost absolves them from another fate until someone else is fated. Yeah. So I could see you. I probably wouldn't play this with more than 3. To be honest.
I think it works out with 3.
I think you got to play it with 3 to kind of get the feeling of it. And then, like, if you're playing 6, then you're playing a very long game of Villainous.
It's going to be a long game. This game does not need to be.
You're going to be cycling that deck at least possibly twice if you're going to be doing that.
And that's the other con I have with this game. That there are certain characters in this game, especially in the expansions, is where like you feel like your objective is really just cycling through your deck. Like you just you're drawing cards and be like, well, I can't play it because I need to get rid of these so I can draw more cards. There's characters where really just cycling because the goal is like you need to get this and then get this and then get this. Right. And then your win condition is met. Yeah.
To be honest,
that's
like
not as fun.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I get that. For me, that's the kind of decks that I like going
Oh,
through.
yeah?
I like the idea. Like I love playing Jafar over there because because you need to find the lamp first,
Yeah.
in order to get Genie out, and then sometimes Genie will just pop up in like a fate, but you're
Yeah.
like, I can't do that because I need the lamp.
Yeah.
So it's just like you gotta. I like the idea of Jafar being able to cycle through just to get the certain cards, and then the satisfaction of knowing like I can like end it here.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like there's people like say Prince John, like I like when his whole thing is that he needs 20 power.
Pounds, yeah.
And 20 power is like it's like kind of just almost like a grinding kind of power, you know, and then some of his locations give him 3 power to begin with, and I'm like it's a little boring for me. Like I like the it's thematic to me in Jafar's sense where it's like, oh, like I must get the lamp first to summon Genie under my control.
You know what's funny? I think I like playing Prince John more than I like playing Jafar. And the reason why I like playing Prince John is that each Fate deck is kind of curated to the objective that you have. So
true.
Prince John, for example, the goal is just to get 20 power. It's a very simple goal, and like you may think based off the board, like, oh, I'm just gonna keep getting power, but the Fate deck kind of hinders you a little bit because what it's doing is stopping you from taking power.
Yeah.
Right? It's making you use the power for something else, so it feels hard to get to 20.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a push and pull, and that makes why I like Prince John a little bit.
Yeah.
But like for Jafar, it's just kind of like I'm just cycling through my deck. It doesn't feel as interesting.
That's fair. No,
Yeah.
that's totally fair.
But yeah, I still think it is curated to your play style based off of what you like, and it is a pro of Villainous.
Yeah, like I think of the first 6, I think Maleficent and Jafar are my favorites. Ursula can be a little complicated, even though hers is slightly similar to Jafar.
Yeah.
Same thing with Captain Hook. Prince John and Queen of Hearts are just they're okay. But I would if given the choice, I would definitely like pull out Maleficent and Jafar out.
Interesting. I'm going Prince John and Queen of Hearts. Those are the villains I like to play the most. In this game. Yeah.
They're good. They're good.
So for Villainous, is this a buy, a play, or don't play at all?
I think if looking at it as of the 3 games that we've talked about today, this is one's definitely going to be the lowest in terms of playing. But it's still a good game.
Yeah.
I like the idea of an asymmetric win condition. I like the idea of you're gonna find something in here that you might click with right away.
Yeah.
Or it might take you might play 2 that you don't like at all. You might be completely turned off from the game.
Yeah.
So definitely play. Maybe at least 1 or 2 villains before deciding you don't like it. But for me personally, I really like this system and this idea of placing on a location, taking those 4 actions in any order, and then the idea of a fate being able to affect your opponent from finishing their objective.
Yeah. This is I guess I'm a little bit more aggressive with you on these buy or not, but this is a buy for me.
Oh,
as
yeah?
an introductory game.
Oh, okay.
It's like this is so easy to get someone to play.
Right.
Like the concept alone, you're getting this to the table, and it's simple and fun enough.
Right.
But once you get I don't think this is gonna work with gamery people.
Okay.
I think
as an introductory.
Yeah, this is a buy as strictly as an introductory game.
Right. And this is just Disney, right? You're not talking about like Marvel or Star Wars is even out right now.
I haven't even played Star Wars.
Yeah, neither have I.
I don't think I'm gonna play Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah, for me, like the Star Wars theme isn't something that I grew up with.
Yeah.
So it's something that's like less likely to hit the table.
Oh,
unless someone has it.
Yeah, no, 100%. And the theme here is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Honestly, this is like if you have any nostalgia for Disney at all.
Oh yeah,
then this should be a buy for you.
Yeah, and then like you're picking up cards and you're like, oh, I remember this from the movie.
Yeah,
I remember this from the movie.
Out of all the Disney board games I've played or I've seen, this is probably the most interesting out of all of them. It's the best game concept, the best play out of all of those.
I can agree with you right now, but I haven't played too many other ones like Sorcerer's Arena. We haven't played yet.
No.
And we haven't played. There's another Disney game out there. I think I forget, but
yeah. But this is a buy for me.
Yeah,
and it's the best introductory game that we talked about, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, I just think just the theme,
I,
what you're doing, and what it's teaching.
Yeah,
all
I think
works.
this could be a little heavier on
Really?
introductory. I think,
You think this is
yeah,
heavy?
I think like learning all the symbols can be a little complicated for a new
true,
gamer. Like
true.
they're gonna definitely need a player aid, which
player aid, yeah.
luckily the game comes with.
It does, yeah.
And like put more player aids in games.
All games,
please.
all games should have a
Yeah,
player aid.
it needs a player aid.
I think this is the lightest one out of the 3.
Of the 3.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, I think it's the lightest one out of the 3.
Okay.
I think just as simple as like I put my thing here and it does something, and like the theme does the heavy lifting of what you're doing and just
Right.
drawing, discarding cards.
I think you could get AP in here, like
100%,
analysis
yeah.
paralysis. For those that know, it's like the idea of like you're taking a little too much time making your moves.
Yeah.
But if you have 4 actions and sometimes you need to sift through what's my optimal action,
Yeah.
that could be a little complicated down the road.
Okay, I can see that. You convinced me a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. But otherwise, I would still say it's a solid introductory.
It's a
Definitely
great
not in
introductory,
like an introductory person could definitely pick it up with a little bit of help.
Yeah. Okay. And those are the 3 introductory games for late to the game. So just to recap, Splendor, Lords of Waterdeep, and Villainous are all plays according to us. At the very least, well, for me, Villainous and Splendor being buys.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely play. Like if you're new to the hobby, sort of kind of like we are, like
Yeah.
I guess you could say, these are 3 games that they're older, maybe a little bit harder to find,
Yeah.
especially with like Waterdeep maybe, because I don't see that too often in the.
No, it's
in
gonna
the-
be a little hard to
Yeah.
find. Yeah.
But Splendor and Villainous are definitely, you can find them relatively easily.
Oh, very easy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, if you can find it, definitely give it a try.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, and with that, I'm Mark.
And I'm Zoe.
We'll catch you next time.